This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Gesine Thomson is an internationally recognized architect specializing in large-scale community planning, design, and sustainable commercial growth. She's worked on projects in the United States, Africa, China, and many other countries around the globe. She lectures extensively on design, large-scale community planning, and the creative process. She's also a filmmaker, a director with an eye toward the future. We're talking with her today about the power of media and how it can change cultures. Welcome, Gesine. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Larry. I guess 3 is a charm because twice on radio, today in person, and actually meeting you for the first time.
Oh, you are so
in person.
kind.
And
well,
I'm really glad what I see.
Now that we see you, I'd have you back on in video much sooner than we did. And this is our premiere first broadcast, and you're on it, and they're our first guest. I am so delighted.
Me too.
I was just thinking, you've got a widely varied background. Yeah. Where did you start first? Was it in film or architecture?
In architecture.
Doing what?
I grew up in a family. I'm the 5th generation architect in my family, first woman. And I didn't know I was an apprentice with my father when I was 8 years old because I loved going to the projects with him. And so when I started studying, actually I had a lead on everybody else because I kind of knew what was going on, and I've loved it. Really loved it. And why I started to also involve film into my process of architecture is because in large-scale architecture work, you deal with government officials and with decision makers which necessarily have no idea how to read plans, but they will not say that they don't. So looking into a media that would give us the possibility to show what we're trying to do, especially since we are influencing communities on a very large scale sometimes, because city planning is big time. And so it was very necessary that they understood what we are committing to. And so I started filmmaking as well.
Well, what is it about architecture that appeals to you? Is it sitting in a room designing, drawing the lines and figuring out where stuff goes? Or is it working with the politics and the government officials to make it possible? Or is it on-site watching the idea that you had in your head become reality?
Well, that's a powerful thing, to actually have a creation that you thought up and then see it emerge and become a reality. But that's not really why I love it so much. I love it because I love people and I love nature. And through architecture, you can really serve very well people. And, actually, architecture and filmmaking isn't that far apart, because everything is creating out of light and shadows, and what fascinates me is creating space, either interior space. Look, you have a fantastic studio here that's brand new, and it's the space that makes and influences everything that gets done here, if you want it or not, because it is the height, the depth, the proportion, and responsible architects can really use that very well. So, for instance, I can say that you influence the well-being of people in what kind of circumstances you put them within the city design or in their building design. There's a reason why city structures that are iconic have the size they have, either in height, in width, because it has impact on the human being, and including in hospitals or in in prisons or something, you will absolutely design the rooms in order to keep the people calmer, or you have really influence. In restaurant design, for instance, you can design in a way that you have an impact of how often the table changes. So that's the power of design. And I do feel that the media and architecture have great impact on the social condition.
Now, why do you think that?
Well, because both is highly responsible, I think. And it's a matter of which choice you make. Let's say in architecture, you can make the choice to become a developer's architect or an architect who serves the people. It's a whole different story.
How are they different?
Because an architect who is a developer architect will always push, the limits by putting more units in, lesser environmental, recreation, all of these kind of things, because they cost money. And a social, responsible architect will not do that. He will fight every step for larger parks, for everything that gives a possibility for anybody in this space to actually thrive. And it will also keep the criminal situation down. You really have an enormous impact. Color, sound. For instance, good design can, in airports, when it's really well done, people that are hearing or seeing impaired have a possibility to find their way, because how the rooms are structured, the ceiling heights of what it bounces off, etc., that's good architecture. Yeah. So in media, I think you have a choice too. You either make projects that are becoming a very positive influence on, and I like very much to say, positive situations with not so well done, projects that have been chosen in countries. Look, I work all over the world. I work on 4 continents in all kinds of cultures, and I take that very serious. It's a high responsibility. I love it though, because it is an adventure. It's an exploration at all times. And when people really ask me what I do, I'm an explorer. Yeah, that's what I do. And then I bring that somehow to the table in the design that the governmental and decision makers can allow to make happen, and including the iconic structures that we are known for, that we tailor-make out of the roots of a country. I like traditions, and all the different ways you experience with the skin and with your smell and with everything. Anyway, I'm very excited about what I do.
But let's just back up a step. I can understand being excited about creating sustainable communities and designing a community where lots of people can live and feel safe and feel like this is home.
Yeah.
But I'm having a hard time tying out your comments about media.
Okay.
So let's just think about this for a second, because there's multiple different roles that media can play. It could be a news report, it could be a feature film, it could be a documentary. When you're saying media, what are you referring to?
Every media, because media to me is storytelling. And you know what? Everybody has to make a choice of what kind of a storyteller he is.
Oh, yes, but let me wait. No, you can't say that. No, because think about the stories that your family likes hearing the most. It's not the stories of, gosh, I woke up this morning, I had a great breakfast, I had a good nap. Those stories are dull and boring and nobody wants to hear. They want to hear stories about where you missed the flight or you're being chased by wild boars in the continent of Africa. They want to hear where life is in jeopardy. They don't want to live that situation. They just want to hear about the situation. Good stories have got drama.
Oh, I'm not saying drama. Drama can be, life is drama from morning to evening. And you need to have courage, actually, to get through the day. Everybody has to have courage to get out of bed, in a way. I mean, so therefore, I think, that's not the case. Let me give you some examples.
Go ahead.
I like to start with very positive examples. The positive examples are, for instance, there has been a movement started by a man called Michael Flatley. He was known only in one way, and that was he had the fastest feet on earth to dance with, and that was Irish dance, okay? So he wanted to really influence the world in making that dance popular. What did he do? He went to Ireland, back from the United States, and won actually the Eurovision with River Dance that he helped create with a composer together. Out of River Dance came Lord of the Dance, Feet of Flame, all kinds of things. But you know what really happened? Millions and millions of girls in the age from 6 to 16 started dancing Irish dance. It flooded the world. And you know what? I think it made puberty much easier for lots of parents and girls, yeah? But it was somebody who knew he could do something well, and he just loved his Irish heritage, and he brought it positively around the world. There's another example, and that are the brothers Rocco and Adrian Bellick. They made the movies that they have made, but they made one movie that had real impact in the world and continuously does so. It is called Happy, in search of what makes people happy around the world. This film has become very popular. And you know what it resulted in? In a very positive thing. In Happy Day, a global Happy Day. I mean, that I call good media.
Well, we're going to be talking with Adrian Bellick a little later in this show, so I want to find out from him whether he planned it that way or whether it just happened. But with your films, how are you, when you're creating a film, are you trying to document one of your big projects, or are you trying to do more than that?
Well, actually, it's really interesting, and it started in presenting the way people would live in the areas that we are designing. But then I got hooked on filmmaking, and you know how that goes. So all of a sudden there's a little story here, there's, you try out to make some vignettes, and because I travel all over the world, I had access to some camera teams, and then I got really fascinated in telling, again, stories that are impacting cultures or came out of culture. And I started to actually meet people. They were so interesting that I couldn't stop not to talk to them. And then it went into actually become very ambitious, and have started to do a feature film. And it will be called Dare to Dream.
Called?
Dare to Dream. It will be called Dare to Dream.
So you've given up on architecture, no more buildings?
No, not at all. I have a full-fledged, I do everything. No, you know what? Once you're creative and you have, I don't know, I have a lot to do. I love to do things and try it out. I need a challenge. That's what it is. But Larry, let me also tell what I see when media is not used well.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, I have projects in Bhutan. The King of Bhutan and Rinpoche are clients, and so I go to Bhutan quite a bit. Bhutan is a strictly Buddhistic country, dedicated to happiness. The World Bank came in and decided to offer Bhutan to build a road that they really needed and wasn't there. And I mean, we're talking, the Himalayas, big time stuff. I think they have 6 of the highest mountains in the world in their country. So they needed a road from one end to the other, and the World Bank said, yes, we're going to build it for you under 2 conditions. You need democratic election system, but secondly, you need to allow media to come into the country, speak television, which was the king had decided not to have in there. He decided it was really good for his people to have a better way of have access from one end to the country to the other. 600,000 people live there. Happy people, really, I'm stunned. They really are pursuing happiness. And I've seen, and so the road got built, and also electric, wires were laid at the same time. I have come back to the country. It is amazing how it has changed, because television is gone into the main areas, not into the mountain regions, but to Thimphu, which is the main city, etc. You know what I see? I see people that start to be unhappy, young people who have no idea what they want to do, and thirdly, first-time criminality has come into the country. I like to give a second example. Point Hope, my feature film brought me to Alaska because part of the movie is shot there. And we went to Point Hope, which is really next to Santa Claus, practically, just totally up in the north. And the mayor was, helping us with the situation. And so we had discussions with him how this impacted the Inuits, his people. And he said, media is ruining our people. They are starting to be really unhappy of the way they live. They used to live in one woman, situation. They want to go away. They don't. It's very different, So all of a sudden, again, he says, we never had criminality here, and now we do.
But does that mean that all we should do is talk about that which is cheerful and happy and ignore sad news?
No.
What should we do?
It's life. It's life. But I think it's a difference if you are hyping it. And if it's always done with, this, and it's the biggest snowstorm ever, rather than saying, be prepared, it's a different story. And I wonder. I think the tone makes the music.
So have a tone of what?
Positivity. I think you give it. I think that is what it is. To always see that the glass is half full. It's not half empty.
If we do that, are people going to watch? Or do people watch train wrecks? They don't watch happy news.
Well, I have to say, if you go to Europe, people really watch a lot of educational movies. And you know what? They know where Dallas is, in which state, and they know where Maine is, and they know where, that Anchorage is the main place in Alaska. It is not necessarily the case if I have a project in Montana or something, and I ask them, where is so-and-so, and they say in Canada.
I understand. Where can we go on the web to keep track of you? What's your website? It
is GT for my initials, GTbydesign.com.
And Gesine Thomson is the GTbydesign.com. Gesine, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry. I am so thrilled to be the first on your show, and I wish you all the best for the future.